Hey everybody, Evan Nathaniel Grimm here. I'd like to welcome you to my forecast for the Gemini New Moon. There's a Gemini New Moon on June 17th at 9:37 p.m. Pacific time. This should be a very welcome new moon. This should be lightening of the energy in a way. But I will also explain at the end how that impacts each rising sign. So you're going to want to stick around to see how it's going to influence your rising sign. So obviously it will be different for each. But in the beginning, I'm going to talk about the prevailing themes overall. So I'm going to share the screen so that you can get a visual on this. So now you're observing this Gemini new moon. And again, I think this is a pretty welcome change for most. Now, even though we had a Taurus new moon in the previous cycle, which also included that ingress of, Jupiter into Taurus, and theoretically there was an abundance there of new energy. I still think that the last few weeks for many of you have been a purgatory of sorts because we've had this fixed grand cross, which I'll talk about. And that fixed grand cross featured a Mars Pluto opposition, Jupiter square Pluto, and that may have felt very tense, as if there was a power struggle that was kind of mounting. But that's largely been kind of winnowed away. But anyways, as I go through during this new moon, you want to track where you have 26 degrees of Gemini. So that is marking the area of your chart where you are experiencing a new beginning, a fresh start, and an ignition of sorts. Mutable signs are all about adaptation and going with the flow, making changes, shifting the energy, reworking things. And so that will be sort of a meta concept here. And when we talk about Gemini, the archetypes of Gemini, we're talking about communication. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So we're talking about Hermes with the winged sandals, very quickly circling the sun. Sometimes it's a morning star, an evening star. And so Gemini is very clever, very crafty. They're oftentimes gifted communicators, writers. Gemini also rules siblings, neighbors, our immediate environment, and improvisation, publishing, and debating. Now, Sagittarius will actually not be all that emphasized here on the opposite side because we're actually not going to have a Sag full moon. We're going to have a full moon in Capricorn. So typically I would lean into the Sag themes. I'm not really going to do that right now, although just briefly, the archetypes of Sagittarius include, higher truths, philosophy, intuition, big picture thinking, inspiration, and long distance traveling. So, I mean, there could be a travel theme for you here. But I just want to quickly point out the fact that there will be a full moon in Capricorn shortly thereafter. So if I just want to quickly jump to that so you have a visual. So there's going to be a full moon in Capricorn July 3rd. So that's going to be the culmination of this cycle. And you can see it right here. There's a Venus-Mars square to Uranus. And, that is radical pivots in values, creativity, your style, maybe your fashion, and also relationships. So from this perspective, we need this perspective of the full moon to talk about the new moon in any cycle. And so now that we have this context of Venus and Mars being caught in the square with Uranus, which is sudden change, the Gemini new moon is really the seed that is planted before this. So it's like you're connecting with new people, and that is changing your perspective on maybe what you can do creatively, even again, how you want to approach your fashion or your style, but also how you want to really tackle relationships. So let me go back to the June 17th new moon so that we can continue onward here. So the overarching theme, let's dive into that. So we've been caught in a purgatory of sorts, thanks to a fixed grand cross that was really active from mid-May until around June 10th and 11th. But now Pluto is retrograding in Capricorn again. And so Mars and Venus and Leo have less of a blockage and more space to shine. And in a square to Jupiter, people are craving bigger and better relationships, but also maybe spending more money. So people may be booking big trips. They may be indulging in the finer things in life. So maybe just, going all in on a nice hotel, a nice restaurant, Venus and Leo conjunct Mars squaring Jupiter. It's kind of extravagant, right? So people want this extravagance. And, in the Northern hemisphere, we have the summer season. So that kind of makes sense. It's a time anyways when people are booking trips, but astrologically, I can see people really spending a lot on travel at this time. Now, Leo And we're talking about Leo, by the way, because we have Mars and Venus in Leo, which is significant because that's really where Mars is where our motivation is going, our energy is going, and Venus is our relationships, our creativity, our money, finances, and values. So Leo is proud, Leo is joyful, creative, romantic, and expressive. And Gemini is social. So when you have a Gemini new moon here, it's like, Gemini and Leo are really taking up a lot of real estate here. And these two signs occupy the fire-air polarity. So I envision it almost like pollen being strewn across the field by wind, pollinating the area and planting seeds for exponential growth. So this new moon is brilliant for socializing, especially in the neighborhood or striking new connections, or I even think about going to like an art fair or a musical concert. These social experiences will set the tone for the next few months. And I say months because Venus will be in Leo for a long time, all the way till I believe October 8th because of a retrograde. So you're going to want options. This is the time to have options, people you can reach out to, whether as friends, as a romantic partner, as a creative partner. So that Venus retrograde is not the time. That Venus retrograde is a time for pruning your relationships and thinking more strategically about who do I want to focus on or what partner do I want to focus on. So you don't want that Venus retrograde to be a dour time in which it's just your exes who are reaching out to you and there's no alternatives. This Gemini new moon is that time for branching out and reaching more people, connecting with people, having fun. I mean, this is kind of a very entertaining type of new moon. I see a lot of people going to like maybe improv comedy shows, again, art fairs, concerts, state fairs, like whatever it is for you. It's almost like you're being inspired by the you're being inspired by the network effects of people mingling and sharing and cross-pollinating ideas because Gemini is very interested in ideas, and there's something you're going to learn out of that because Gemini is very much a curious sign trying to learn more. So I can see you stopping at a booth at an art fair and saying, well, what is this painting? Who painted this? Or what is the symbol on this necklace? And so you're taking in more of that outside world, or maybe you're watching a concert and you're saying, I want to reinvest in that instrument. I mean, again, overall, this is actually a pretty positive time for manifesting new connections. Now, I want to add in more context. Saturn stationed retrograde hours before this new moon. It will station retrograde hours before this new moon. So people are reflecting on the long-term goals that they have, but others might de-emphasize that and focus more on their immediate surroundings, their immediate future. So for many, this is an inspiring time for creative projects. Again, you might be networking with other creatives, picking up a creative hobby, enjoying the creations of others. Now, some key questions to ask yourself: where is my creativity lacking? Am I investing enough in my passion projects? But also, do I have other people to share my romance or my passions with? How can I better utilize my neighborhood, by the way, and my surroundings to feed my creativity or joy? Because again, Gemini is the neighborhood. And who can help me enhance my creativity? And for many, this could just be like, this kind of has the energy of speed dating. So it's almost like you're maybe going on many dates, or you're, and I don't even, for those of you who are in relationships, it might not be speed dating literally, but you're interfacing with people who, again, have a passion that you want. You want more of their joy. Maybe, again, they're painting or they're playing music. And it's like you want to recapture that joy within yourself. Now, the chart ruler is Mercury because Mercury rules Gemini. And look at Mercury. It's in a perfect sextile to Venus, but also finishing a square with Saturn. I think overall this bodes well for mingling and socializing, but perhaps in conflict with professional obligations. I think about this like a summer Friday. It's like you're kind of leaving the responsibilities behind. Maybe your boss isn't happy about it, but you're almost taking time off to reconnect with that inner sense of wonder and pride and expression. So also, because Mercury's in its domicile, clear-headed approaches may prevail. And I don't necessarily mean that it's a time of being rational, but it's just like a time when your humor is really, people think you're funnier than usual. It's like, things just kind of roll off the tongue very well. So it could be a good time for just dialogue in groups, again, improv, comedy. This is an especially, again, clear-headed time when compared to Mercury conjunct Uranus and Taurus the past few weeks. So that was a little bit of a frustrating time because Mercury conjunct Uranus is very restless. We don't really know where our minds are going. They're just dancing around and they're very scattered. Mercury in Gemini can be a little scattered as well. But in that sextile with Venus, we are pouring our communication into these very clearly Venusian, domains of life. So again, speed dating, creating, investing in art, improv. Now, just one more theme to cover quickly. Pluto is, before I go into the rising signs, Pluto has retrograded back into Capricorn. Now, this does emphasize some shadow work that needs to be revisited for the cardinal signs. So Capricorn, Cancer, Aries, and Libra. If you have major placements in those signs, then, Pluto retrograde back into Capricorn, it may be a difficult time in some ways where you can't escape some shadows that you thought you had moved past. So for cardinal signs, this summer may have a heaviness to it in that way. But, it's not in a bad way. It's just like you're finishing off, you're rounding out a certain transformation journey so that you can come back even more resilient in October when Pluto goes direct. And even into January 2024 when Pluto goes back into Aquarius. Now, technically Pluto will be in Capricorn all the way off and on until November 2024. But at that point, the cardinal signs no longer have to worry too much about Pluto. But Pluto going back into Capricorn puts the spotlight on the US Pluto return yet again. So this is like a sequel to the United States Pluto return. So what that means is infrastructure, financial systems, political matters, the way our political system is organized will be scrutinized. The soundness or unsoundness of structures will be evaluated again. So I foresee crumbling infrastructure being highlighted, but also the themes of outdated, outworn, outmoded policies coming to the surface. Also, the theme of government debt will dominate, and credit card debt, things like that, will predominate throughout the next year and a half until November 2024. Ironically, Pluto finally leaves Capricorn for the long term right after the 2024 elections. So the way that power is wielded in the United States will be scrutinized as well. So it's a fairly monumental transit that's happening in the background. Even though this new moon is quite nice for many of you and quite liberating, there will be a darkness that is continuing to brew within the United States, and it will very much be financial as well. Because remember that Pluto occupies the second house of the United States birth chart according to the Sibley chart. So now let's just quickly talk about some themes for the Gemini new moon for each sign. So Aries rising, and by the way, if you have Aries sun or moon, you still want to refer to this forecast as well to see if it resonates, but this will be primarily based on rising sign. So for Aries rising, the Gemini new moon is a new conversation, a new email, phone call, text message, or just an in-person conversation with someone that's either very creative or in a romantic context. So Aries, you will be very social, hyper-social at this time. And that person or those people that you connect with may help you kind of get to cope. They might help you cope with your Saturn in the 12th house transit. Because Aries rising, so you're going through a bit of a soul-searching journey right now. Things are not actually that easy with Saturn in the 12th. You're releasing certain foundations and structures. Maybe you're leaving a career behind. Well, there are now passionate people here to help guide you through that. Now, Taurus rising. Taurus rising, you have this Gemini new moon in your second house of money, natural talents, and resources. You have Leo in your fourth house. So for Tauruses, this may be a time of investing in a property or a home or beautifying your home in a different way. This could also be a time of entertaining guests at the home. Or I think you're hosting something. Maybe you're changing something about your home, or maybe you're connecting with family members in the fourth house as well. But I think for Tauruses, a lot of you are maybe moving homes or just changing some kind of vibe about your home and making it more artful and investing in that. Now we talk about Geminis. The Gemini new moon is in your first house. So let me go backwards just so people aren't confused about the visual there. So the Gemini new moon is in your first house. So for Gemini risings, this is a new beginning, a new announcement about yourself or some of your ambitions. You may kind of change your identity a little bit, or your look, or your style. Venus in Mars in your third, it's a very social time. So Geminis, you're going to be flirting with a lot of people, commingling with a lot of people. And I think that a lot of these conversations will be passionate, or they'll be creative, and they could be romantic. So Gemini is especially, you want to get out there. You want to go into the neighborhood, go to the art fair, go to the show, and you can play a big role in leading those conversations and in striking those connections. Cancer risings, this Gemini new moon's in your 12th house, isolation, spirituality. So for Cancer risings, maybe you're having a very strange dream in which there's a lot of conversations happening. Maybe you're actually channeling something from the other side, or a divine message. You're probably receiving a divine message, but you're probably communicating with people behind the scenes as well. And maybe, I think you may be channeling from outside energies. But I think what's also a big deal here, so you have Mars and Venus in your second house of money. So for a lot of Cancer risings, you're going to be indulging a lot in the finer things in life. So food, hotels, travel. So Cancer risings, you're really going to want to think about not overspending. You're going to be very tempted to spend a lot of money during this cycle without maybe telling people about it, with Gemini in the 12th house. Now, Leos, this is going to be very romantic, creative, and passionate for you, because Venus and Mars are in the first, so you will not hesitate to start a relationship. And Pluto's out of your 7th house again, so it doesn't feel like there's a blockage or anything daunting right now in your 7th house. So this is your time to initiate those new relationships, go after those connections. And Gemini's in your 11th. So maybe you're starting up new friendships, new communities, joining new communities, and someone in that community could be the romantic or creative spark that you needed. Virgo risings, Gemini in the 10th, this could be a new beginning around your career, your responsibilities. You have Jupiter in the 9th, so you may be traveling right now. Saturn retrograde in the 7th. You're rethinking your long-term partnerships. Mars and Venus in the 12th, you could have secretive, karmic, or past life relationships, but you also may be finding union with the divine. But I think for Virgos, it's primarily a time of investing in a new creative or professional track, or maybe rekindling a conversation with an authority figure or a parent who had previously not been in your life, or something like that. Or maybe an older sibling. I don't know. There could be something around authority figures, but primarily Virgo, you're starting fresh with a new creative, a new work project. And again, you may be very creative in your, especially at night. You could come up with a very interesting creative idea in the hours before you fall asleep or while you're asleep. Leo in the 12th, some of you could even like write a film script or something kind of fun like that. I mean, that could be kind of interesting. But anyways, so Libras, the Gemini new moon's in your 9th. So likely you're embarking on a new trip, or maybe an educational path program. The Leo energy is in your 11th. So you could be engaging an audience in a creative capacity, or you could be starting a romantic relationship with someone in your friend group, or you could just be creating things with your friends. Now, coworkers, by the way, are not that helpful to you right now because Saturn is in the 6th. So maybe you're traveling to get away from some work-related drama or difficulties, but I like community dynamics for you on this new moon. Scorpios, you have the Gemini new moon in your 8th house. So this could be a new discussion around fears, subconscious triggers, coping mechanisms, or shadows. So maybe you're talking more openly about what you want or what's blocking you, even from intimacy. You could be talking about past experiences that have that have shaped your psyche. So it's almost like you're becoming more open about something that you've previously hidden away. Some of you could do that in a therapeutic context, or just discussing with a friend. Mars and Venus and Leo in the 10th. That's a time of, really taking a chance on something new in your career, kind of blazing a new trail creatively in your career. I think Scorpios are being very bold and assertive right now in their professional lives. And with Venus up there, you could be perceived as more fashionable or beautiful in the public eye. So some Scorpios are inking a fashion deal at that time, like a modeling contract. Okay, so now we have Sag, the Gemini new moon in the 7th. This could be a new conversation or an important conversation with a significant friend or partner or business partner. So maybe a new relationship for Sag. The Leo energy is in your 9th. So maybe you're booking a trip, investing in a trip or a new educational path, but you could also, you could pursue a degree in something creative, or you could start a new relationship with someone while you're traveling. I mean, that could be part of it. But I think you're having a rosier picture of the world right now, or where you can explore. Some of you will value exploration more. So you may start looking into history, sociology, monuments, culture, language. You could be learning a new language you could be taking a new kind of like a language class with a partner. That could be literally what you're doing. Okay, so Cap risings, Gemini new moon in your 6th. You're doing something with a coworker, maybe in the neighborhood. Maybe you're traveling around with somebody, like a colleague. Maybe you're doing something in publishing with a colleague, or starting a new conversation with a coworker, or starting a new work project with a coworker. But I think a lot of Capricorns are meeting up with coworkers. So if you work from home, I think you're getting out of the house and seeing them in real life. But others are just, again, starting a new creative project or fitness routine, health regimen. And then Mars and Venus and Leo in the 8th house. That's also kind of like Scorpios, doing some shadow work potentially, or having intense experiences with people behind closed doors. I don't really know how else to phrase that. Hopefully you understand what I mean. But Leo is very passionate. Leo is very romantic, and the 8th house, that's about physical intimacy. So, for Capricorns with Jupiter in the 5th, I've talked about this on many forecasts, but Capricorns may unintentionally start a family or something. I know that's a little odd, but you're not trying to do that. Maybe you just want to be careful there. All right. So, and sorry, Capricorns could also be in power struggles with others over money or finances. That's also Mars in the 8th. But, some of you could be starting a small business, or again, disputing financial transactions. Now, Aquarius. Well, Pluto is back in your 12th house, so you're not necessarily feeling the intensity of Pluto as much. Like you're getting a break from Pluto and the transformation journey therein. The Gemini new moon's in your 5th house of creativity, so it's a good time to express yourself creatively, invest in a creative hobby, engage an audience on stage, engage in athletics. But Mars and Venus in the 7th, you're likely also, like Sagittarius, starting a new relationship, especially a long-term one, a significant one. But it's a relationship that honors your inner joy, your passions, your romantic side more. So your relationships are becoming more romantic. But also some of you with Mars maybe getting into more conflicts with your partner. But it's like you're really passionate about starting a relationship or even leaving a relationship, because Mars is independence. So maybe you're wanting to leave and explore more relationships, different types of relationships. But for Aquarius, remember that Venus will retrograde in your 7th house. So exes are almost guaranteed in some capacity to return for you in late July through early September. So this would be the perfect time for you to start new relationships. So that's not so dramatic, and that's not what happens. But even if you don't have an ex come back, it could just be during Venus retrograde, again, that you're kind of separating the wheat from the chaff and pruning your relationships and finding the best possible one. Now, finally, Pisces rising. Pisces rising. you have the Gemini new moon in your fourth house of the home, family, and the foundation. So, maybe you're entertaining people at your home, kind of like Taurus is as well. Maybe you are moving. Maybe you are traveling in the neighborhood a lot and inviting someone back to your home. Maybe you're entertaining a sibling at your home. Maybe you're starting a conversation with a family member who you previously haven't been talking to. Venus and Mars are in the sixth. So you're investing a lot in your exercise routines, health routines, but also your day-to-day work. Your day-to-day work may get an upgrade. You may incorporate your passions more into that, your creativity. You may be starting a new career in something more creative, or just having more passionate connections with coworkers. So that concludes my reading for today. I hope that you have a great Gemini new moon. And by the way, if you would like, this is a very exciting announcement. I have my intro astrology course is now available as a PDF file. So check the link down below to download that. So my 4-hour astrology introductory course is now available at your convenience. My blueprint for how I mastered astrology is now your blueprint as well. So you can download that. It's not insights that you're going to find anywhere else. This is how my brain works. This is how I approach astrology. And I think you're going to want to give it a look because it's very unique. It's not told in a way that you will necessarily find in other textbooks. So I learned astrology essentially in 4 months, and I built a 6-figure business as an astrology within 8 months after that. So, that's not an accident. That's because I hooked in to a very efficient, seamless, but also deep way of learning and communicating astrology to people. So it does blend my analytical rigor, my intuition, and my deep understanding, though, of astrological principles. Kind of alchemizes those into a singular document. So you definitely don't want to miss out on that. So download it below to access my astrological knowledge. Also, I have a couple spots left for my retreat in Croatia. You have until July 12th to register. I believe there's 5 or 6 spots left. So those are all going to be taken up over the next few weeks. It's summertime, right? People are booking trips, especially around this new moon. We already have a great group, but I would like you to join the group. So if you want to meet me in person, meet the community, build a community, and also get a complimentary reading from me, you should come to Croatia with us. And by the way, flights from London to Croatia are pretty cheap. So if you're in Europe, especially, you really have no reason not to go. My readings are sold out for the year. So if you want to see me in 2023, unfortunately, I'm booked. And I'm not sure exactly when I'm going to launch my 2024 readings or how many I'm going to do next year because I'm focused on a book, a television show. And by the way, I'm doing a show in Los Angeles, June 23rd. There may be extra capacity. It's technically sold out, but if you want to look around for extra tickets that may come up, just keep track of that show. It's in Los Angeles. I'm doing live readings of the audience there that will eventually become a television show. So anyways, I do appreciate all your support these past couple of years now that I've been fully invested in astrology. So again, thank you so much. Hope you have a great Gemini new moon and take care.